Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to go through a game of the day and talk about some of the principles of an endgame. Okay, we'll head to the endgame first. So we open up with d4. He opens up, that's the Petrov. Okay, we open up with the bishop opening. So we're doing like a London system. The good thing about the London system is you can pretty much do the same moves similar to what the King's Indian does. It doesn't matter usually what your opponent does, only in extreme circumstances where you'll have to go off the main line. So as you can see, it's all books, and now I got off the books, and now it's just trying to find the best moves now, which I have. Okay, so we retreat from the pawn. So we're finding a lot of good moves in this game, so this is what we want. Shows improvement. Okay, so we attack and create our defensive knight there, so we go to peace. He goes to develop his knight, intertwining his knights. We do have a double bishop advantage at the moment, which is good. Pushing the pawns up in the file. So at the start of the game, in the opening, you want to develop your minor pieces out, but you also want to push your pawns out as well, which creates space in a game. So that's not the end game philosophy, but that's just what we're up to now as we're playing. Okay, he targets the bishop, so we retreat. It's actually classified as a blunder because I could have taken here, and it's classified as a blunder because we're attacking this pawn 3 times. So sometimes we can have the advantage. We're not used to having the advantage at this stage of the game because he's attacking here 3 times as well. So yeah, definitely a lot of tactics here. Well, we could have taken here. He can take here. And we could even take here, pinning the knight to the pawn. So pinning the knight to the queen, sorry. So we can take away this threat, quite possibly. And then, yeah, once we take here, we could have the queen go up here and have the rook going to the side. Or even, probably having the rook go this side is probably the best move, because this pawn is already defended. So this rook is not doing anything in the game, and what you want to do is have your pieces active. Okay, so the computer doesn't like that move. That's a mistake by him to take. We do another mistake by taking. See, it just loves that pawn. We should have just done it, because what it does is, if you have a look, we control the set. We'll control the center of the board and cut him off. So it was definitely a strategic move that we could have easily taken a lot out of the game and just crushed him, but we didn't see it. So we're not quite up to that level yet with our chess, but we will soon be at that level. Okay, so he's moving his rook around, so we've done another mistake which helped him, and also this is hanging, so I did miss that, and now the queens are hanging or facing each other. So just because there's tension there doesn't mean you have to release it. You can choose whenever you want. The fancy thing about this is whoever takes each other controls the file. So if I go up here, take him, he takes back, then he controls the file. If he comes back down here and takes the queen, then I control the file. So that's why you don't want to take all the time. The computer says to take, but it could be a possible mistake because. And this is a very complicated line now because I took the knight, now taking the rook. So as an exchange. The computer didn't like that move. We do have a discovered bishop here, and we're also attacking here as well. So he takes the queen, misses the win. So what he could have done was here and then have a discovered check. So he could have then, yeah. So if you have a look. Go back here. So if he moved here, then he can move his rook here and get a discovered. I have been seeing those a lot more lately, but on my side, it's a lot harder to see them come the other way. So we are getting a little bit better with seeing the tactics. Okay, now he's attacking here. I go for the trade swap, trade for the bishops. And this is like the end game, okay? So after the trade of the So if you have a look at the end game. I know it says it's equal, but who do you think has the advantage at this stage? Okay, so the way I see it, which is not always right, my 2 pawns and these 2 pawns. So on this side, I have the advantage here against the 1 pawn, and he has the advantage here. So it's actually quite equal, and we've got equal material. So what you want to do in the end game too is another thing is, so these pawns here, so pawns that are on the same rank as each other can be easily attacked. So if this rook wasn't here, so let's take away that rook. So if this rook was here, these 2 would be easily attacked. So I couldn't defend 1. So you want to avoid having all your pawns on the same file, okay, on the same rank. So that's very important. So that's one of the main things I've learnt just in the last week, is just try and avoid having them on the same rank. So if this one was here and this guy coming down, we could always shift here. Okay. So even, I'm not excluding this because, okay, but yeah, and an active king. So you want to try and shut down the king and get your king active as well. So always picture like the rooks in the end file. So just, I always like to have a box kind of thing, and just realize where the rooks cover. Okay, so I've covered the pawns, and when you're down in material, just at least 1 pawn, you want to trade all your pieces, because it's easier to do a draw with the 1 pawn. If you have learnt how to do a draw, then it's easily to draw with 1 king and 1 pawn and a king endgame, okay? But you'll need to learn how to do that, and quite possibly I'll be able to do a video on that soon as well. That will take a bit of a preparation. Okay, so we're attacking all the pawns. So also in the end game, it's all about trying to get the advantage, trying to use your advantage by having a structure advantage, and also promoting your pawns. So our opponent's trying to promote the pawns. We're trying to defend our pawns. We don't want to give up anything. Okay, we double up the rooks. Not sure if that's the best way. He's got a cheap check here. So really, if he just does a check here, it really doesn't solve anything really. We could just... probably better to go this square, just to try and put some pressure on the rook. Actually, no. Yeah, we can. So if he goes down here, because this rook is here, we can go here. If the rook wasn't here, and it was here, then if we went here, then, you know, say if the rook was here, you could go here and check and then take the pawn. So you've got to always be mindful of all the checks that you've got against you, and have a look at your checks as well. So if we go check here, it's not really going to solve the purpose, because the king's going to be more active, and it's just going to waste a space, like a turn. Okay, so we're trying to trade. This was a blunder on my part. It says it's a good move, but I'm not really happy with that, because it gives away the pawn. So going like this here, it's putting a lot of pressure on the pawns. So I just opened up that file, and now he takes the pawn, and we just lose the advantage too. We should have taken just there, but we are trying to promote now, so it's really hard to understand what the computer sees as well. So we've got a passed pawn, so that was really good, but he's also got a passed pawn as well. So the best thing to do with the passed pawn, the problem is here too, is in this move, you got to move and try and block to queen, like to block their queen. But it's a common tactic to have your rook come down here and check your opponent and then take the rook, or force my rook to take there and you promote and take. Okay, so that's a very common tactic that you're probably going to learn the hard way a couple of times, but you've got to learn how to use it and how to promote that way as well. So we're putting pressure on the rook, hoping that he's going to get a bit scared. So he does a blunder, and at this stage I was thinking, okay, we do have a problem here. He can check here. He's got checks, so he can waste a move. He can also promote here as well, and then attack the pawn. So even if he promotes here, he can promote here, and we could take, and then he can take. So it's a losing game for me. So he promotes. So I take, and he takes back. So this is what this is one of the things I like to talk about and say that just because your opponent takes one of your pieces, don't feel obliged to take it back all the time. It's not necessarily the best move, but you always feel encouraged to get instant revenge, and that's what we can do wrong. Okay, so we run away, and then we actually promote. So now we're actually in a winning position. So yeah, so got to get out of check. We could have blocked. I am worried here because if keep coming back here, could do perpetual checks. But I think it's more on this line. If the rook wasn't here. So our opponent can do perpetual checks if we're not careful, and that's what he was trying to do. I actually fell in a checkmate scenario like that earlier, where the queen was in a similar position trying to get my king in the corner. Okay, so we block. So we're trying to make sure that try and stop stop the draw. So now we're getting in a check, and now we're just trying to think about how to get rid of this queen. So what I was thinking of in this situation was trying to line up the rook and the queen together to get the check, but have the queen involved in the and force the trades of the queen. Okay, so we can already see what's happening. I'm already starting to think about the movements. And bingo, we get what we wanted. So this is what we wanted. So we wanted to trade. So we trade. And now his pawn's nice loaded pawn. And we've got two together. But we do have the advantage of the rook. So this was a big plus on my side. This is definitely 100% winning. You don't even need to look at the computer for this. We're just taking material. And this is what I'm talking about. With the endgame, you try and look at where your rook's covering and trying to block the king. So at this stage it's like here. So you'd really want you could have your rook here and just really just closing off the king, because especially in the endgame, inactive rooks, inactive kings equal death. So you want to have your rooks very active more than your opponents, and your king as well. So my king is not active, but I do have a huge material advantage being a rook up. So, and I've just stabilized the fence, so the king is not going anywhere. So we're just, and this is comes to another principle as well. So when you look at this pawn, it's in a box. So if you can picture a box here, if it's in this box, if our king is in this box, it can capture the pawn. Okay, same as here, or even here. So if our king was here, you could capture the pawn. Okay, but as long as it's the king's move. Actually, no. Wait a sec. It can't from that side, but it can on this side. Okay. So from the side it can, but not from the far end. Okay. So he blunders, and yeah, we capture. Now it's just all about checkmate anyway. So apart from the box theory, yeah, it's definitely it definitely is accurate. I didn't explain it good towards the end, but the first explanation was good. So as long as your king is in the same box as your opponent's pawn, you can catch them from the angle. So okay, anyway guys, that's the end of the video, and I hope you found it good, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.